All right, guys, we've got Chris Metzen's apology. This is later than it should have been, but here's my response. We failed you all. To all of those at Blizzard, those of you who some I've never met, I offer you my deepest apologies for the part I played in a culture that fostered harassment, inequality, and indifference. Wow. Okay. That's ownership. Okay. There's no excuse. And Chris Metzen is kind of one of those guys who kind of mentored Abersabi, from what I've heard. There's no excuse. We failed too many people when they needed us because we had the privilege of not noticing, not engaging, and not creating necessary space for the colleagues who needed us as leaders. I wish my apology could make any kind of difference, but it can't. Dude, this feels real. After reading so many experiences that have been shared over the past few days, a lot of common themes scream out. I was conditioned to think it was normal. I never spoke up for fear of reprisal. I didn't trust HR. Things weren't going to change anyway, and it goes on. Friends and colleagues that I have valued and admired for years were directly harmed because I was not present enough to ask, listen, or hear the stories when it mattered. I don't know if I believe that. I think that maybe you did know, and maybe it was just more efficient for your stake in the business to not do it. But the rest of the apology seems pretty on spot. So I'm gonna give you some slack on this one. I'm feeling the same shock, disgust, and anger as many as you are. That feels fake. Having trouble reconciling the place I knew, loved, and worked in for so long with the hard reality that has been presented over the last few days. It's starting to feel like two totally different worlds. But it's not. It's just one world. And the yawning disconnect between my perception from the top and the crushing reality that many of you experience fills me with profound shame. Okay. Words are cheap. Not so grand, sweeping promises really do either. Accountability starts with the people. Now corporations' platitudes or values cast in iron around a statue. Unless we as individuals, and I mostly mean men, okay, start to walk around, greater awareness and compassion for the women who work around us in the lives. In our lives, not just work, then nothing changes. So many of us have women we cherish in our lives. I'm father of 3, including 2 daughters. I want them to flourish in the workplaces they're choosing, but we should have a special connection to the women in our lives in order to protect and listen to them and give them their space. Okay, so no, you were virtue signaling here. You were trying to negate your part in this. At first, you took responsibility, and now you're trying to make this a men versus women thing when it's not. It's not a men versus women thing. It is a victim versus assaulter thing. These people were violently assaulted and became victims. Okay? The problem wasn't that it was women who were assaulted. It was that anyone was assaulted. It was that anyone was in a work environment that wasn't safe. The assault and the mistreatment of a group of individuals or an individual on their own is the problem. It is not that women were hurt and therefore nothing else is wrong. Because men were also put in these bad situations. Now, were they sexually assaulted? I don't know. I haven't heard any of that. But they were also in these shitty situations with these arbitrary, fucked up goals that they had to get done. And for you to put it all on men versus women or respect for women thing, that is negating much of the hurt and much of the ill intent that was put on the workplace as a whole. Okay? The problem was that people were victimized. Okay? Focusing on one part of the group, that was the extreme part that definitely needs their their acknowledgement of what happened to them, and they need retribution for it. You can't just focus on them. You have to focus on everything, okay? And this makes me feel very uncertain that you understand what the fuck is wrong whenever you focus on one, like, not small, you focus on the one thing that's extreme versus all of the other hurt that happened too. You can't negate everything else just because this is the one part you think everybody's super pissed about. It is, but you as the former leader, you need to acknowledge all of the hurt. You need to acknowledge all of the problems if you really want this to change. Making more than the conscious choice to act this way. Hold on. It is not enough to say, I see you, I hear you, when terrible things happen to women in the workplace. We have to be present enough to be willing to ask them what their experiences are day to day. And then do everything we can to support them with their dignity and opportunities they deserve. More than making the conscious decision to act this way, we must be consistently thoughtful and model our behavior for those around us. And make sure that it's accountable for them to hold, and be ready to hold account and listen to them at every stage of the game. Chris Metzen. He's really just focusing on the sexual harassment part, which seems disingenuous to me. Because if he was really focused on everything, he would be talking about everything. I think he just doesn't want to get in trouble, which is sad because the start of this really sounded honest.